Solis strain. Boston leads Miami 3-1 in their first-round series. We have a trio of games on tap tonight at 4 o'clock on TNT. The Knicks look to close out the Sixers from Madison Square Garden. New York is favored by 4.5. At 5 o'clock on NBA TV, the Magic and Cavs from Cleveland. Game 5 series tied at 2. Cavs favored by 5.5, and it's 6:30 on TNT. The Pacers look to close out the Bucks in Game 5 from Milwaukee. Indy favored by 3.5. Mariners and Braves from T-Mobile Park tonight. First pitch at 6:40. Lopez against Castillo. Got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad coming at you right now. We have a pair of Hops tickets that we're going to give away at 4 o'clock.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
Back to McCollum, physicaled up by Giddey, crosses over through the legs, shot clock at 1, put it up off the glass, and he got the roll with a running right-hander.
In a series like this, against a team like that with Z out, I had to be great for us to win, and I wasn't great. So I don't think we were going to have a chance under those circumstances.
We don't want to get all high on our horse, think we're so good because we're young. We're the youngest team to do this. That means we're something.
Jokic has it in the paint. Murray dunked on LeBron. Hey, LeBron James, get the hell out of the way. Nuggets lead it by 2. Murray 3. Come on now. Come on. Jumper from 8. Got it again. 3.6 seconds left for the Lakers. LeBron over to Prince. Jumper's no good at the horn. And the LA Lakers can take that L on the way out.
Tonight, was there any thought at all that, this could have been your last game with the Lakers?
I'm not going to answer that. Appreciate it.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now.
Well, I love the play-by-play announcer for the Nuggets. Their radio voice, Jason Kosmicki, is awesome. Shacker is such a great producer that he connected me with him at one of the Nuggets games earlier in the year, and then when he returned, he came back on, so I've had a chance to interview him a couple of times. Great play-by-play guy, great energy. English is not even his first language. He moved over here from Germany when he was little.
Wow.
And he learned how to speak English by listening to the radio in Nebraska. Now he's a play-by-play guy in the NBA.
Huh.
And he was dynamite last night, excited that the Nuggets, along with the rest of the NBA, eliminated the Lakers, who are now gone. So poor LeBron, Anthony Davis, Darvin Ham, the rest of the Laker clowns, and the fake fans wearing their Crown Royal bags are now going home once again. So not too many people shedding tears over that one, Godfather. We have a big show today where we're going to hit on a little bit of everything, including the fight coming up on Netflix in July with Paul and Tyson. Dwight's got some more insight on that. Have you recovered from the news that it's going to be offered for free on Netflix to subscribers?
Still can't believe it, Chad. How could a fight like that be free? Nothing's free anymore.
I know. In a world of inflation and rising prices across the board.
I do pay for Netflix. That's true. But I was paying for it before they had this fight. So
about the same price that I paid to go through the drive-thru to get my daughter and her friend after softball practice a couple of McFlurries. It's like, wait, what? You want how much?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
McFlurries.
The world's gone mad. Okay. I got to tell you a couple of stories with me, and then I want to ask you about the Braves and Mariners series, which I know you paid attention to last night.
Yeah, I did.
Great finish up in Seattle. So I went to my new dentist this morning for the very first time. Like 25 x-rays, the whole examination, the whole deal. And I'm a person, you might know this by being around me, I don't like change. I use the same golf balls. I like the same tee times.
Yes.
I like the same food, everything. I'm not one that likes to change. And my dentist that I had for, 15 years retired. And I was very bitter about that.
Oh, I hate that.
Very happy that he wanted to move on to the next phase of his life with his wife and actually going to use his time to go overseas and provide dental care to some poor countries, people that need help desperately. He's going to use his time wisely and enjoy time in his later years with his wife, which is great. That doesn't do me much good because now I'm left to go find a dentist. And so I was talking with my pops, and he recommended the place where he goes, and he told me about this guy, Dr. Wu. He goes, I think you'll like him, similar to your dentist, Dr. Young. And so I went this morning, had the full examination, and I, within 10 seconds, knew that Dr. Wu was the guy. We bonded over watches. I'm one of the few guys that actually still wears a watch.
Oh, yeah, I love watches, too.
I buy watches. I'm obsessed with them, and I like to collect them. And then he's a golfer, too. And I was like, oh, we're going to be just fine here.
That's all he needs.
Yes. So we did that. The examination came out just fine. No cavities or any major work that needs to go down. So that was a good experience. And then I went over to Sherwood today to catch up with Travis Demers, voice of the Trailblazers. Hadn't seen him since the season, and we just wanted to sit down and catch up. And so we did that and had a cup of coffee, and it was nice. Enjoyed catching up with Trav with no pressure or game or anything going on. So I'm driving back to the station, and I come up to an intersection where I'm making a left turn on Hall Boulevard. And it's an area of town that I'm not real familiar with because I don't come out to the west side of town too often, aside from here to come to work. I spend most of my time in Vancouver. So I make this turn, and I come up on the intersection, and it's one of those deals where the light is yellow. And I'm like in between. Should I go? Should I stay? So I just went for it.
Sure.
And didn't think anything of it until about 30 seconds down the road when the lights were on behind me.
Uh-oh.
And the cop was on, and I didn't know what I was being pulled over for because I was on my phone talking to you. Was it because I ran a red light? Wasn't really sure. So
I wasn't sure why you hung up on me either.
did.
Now I'm finding out.
I was talking with Godfather about a bunch of nonsense. And
as usual,
I saw the lights come on behind me, and so I started to pull over. And Dwight was in the middle of a rant, and so I just hung up. I'm like, well, I'll just call him after this is over, after I get my ticket and everything. So I rolled down my window. I had my license, registration, insurance all ready because I'm like, I know I did something wrong, certainly, and I just assumed I was going to get a ticket. And then I look over, and it was like out of some sort of a movie. The most beautiful police officer I've ever seen in the history of my life was standing at my door. And she asked for my license and registration. And the weird part is that after I handed her the information, she got on her little CB or whatever that is and called in my name and everything. And but she never walked back to her car. And so I noticed right away that she wasn't going back to her car. And so I thought, I got a chance. I might get out of this for nothing.
Yeah.
So we started talking, and I was just blown away. Like, I've seen cops like her on TV.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that cops like that existed in real life. She was very sure of herself, very polite, very professional, beautiful, and we were engaging in conversation. She used to live in the Bay Area. I used to live in the Bay Area. We were talking about coffee, and she was asking me where I got a cup of coffee, and so we were talking about local coffee shops. And then she asked me why I ran the red light, and I said, well, if I'm being honest, I reached that point where it was kind of a tweener, and I was like, I'll just go for it. So I went for it. And she goes, I completely understand that. And so we carried on the banter, and then she got the message back that I wasn't some type of wanted serial killer or whatever they're looking for there.
Yeah.
And then she goes, I'm just giving you a warning today. And then she handed me the stuff, and then we went on with our days. But I've never had someone so polite, so professional, so beautiful, all wrapped up into one in one moment. And it's one of those situations where if she wanted to give me a ticket, I wouldn't even have been upset about it.
Whatever she wanted. Right?
Whatever she wanted to do was fine with me.
How close were you to say, hey, what do you think about meeting for a cup of coffee?
What is the rules on that? Can you actually ask? I don't know what the rules on that are. Can you ask a cop out if you just get pulled over? Like, to me, like, isn't that crossing a line on some level?
Well, it probably is. but you're charming enough and honest enough. I think you could pull it off. I really do. And she was bantering with you back and forth. I think it's the next logical step in your conversation is to say, I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, I would like to learn more about what you do.
Yeah.
We should have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It was astounding. I've never seen anything like it.
And
ever.
now she's gone. Did you get a warning on a piece of paper? Or you at least know her name?
No warning. She didn't write anything down. I did. I know her name. I shook her hand and said, thank you. Have a nice day. I've never, I don't know if I've ever shook a cop's hand like that. But, yeah, that was a bizarre experience.
But you'd like to see her again, right?
I may perform lots of traffic violations in that area of town now all the time.
In the same general vicinity would be smart.
Yeah. I think I'm in love.
Yeah.
Yeah. They always say love at first sight. I think that was my experience today. It could be love at first sight.
So did you request handcuffs at all during the conversation?
No. But if those would have been brought up, I would have been like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel is necessary. I'm out of line. Whatever you feel is necessary. Yeah, it was amazing. But there you go. And I think it's great that you have an experience like that because we always hear about how bad cops are all the time in the news. When you have an experience like that, someone that's professional, understanding, communicates with you clearly about the situation, that was pretty cool. So there you go. Good experience.
She didn't give you a ticket, so you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah. I was, when I get pulled over, I've gotten a few tickets in my time.
Yeah.
I just assumed the ticket was coming. And whatever. And I would imagine now with the way inflation is going, running a red light.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably good for $400 right there.
Oh, yeah. Because I mean, I haven't gotten a ticket in a while, knock on wood, but I know even parking tickets now are way through the roof.
Wow. Unbelievable. Movie star quality right there.
That good?
I'm not joking, man.
This sounds like one of those movies they used to show on Cinemax late at night. You're sitting in the hotel room, and here comes this, R-rated, but kind of a little more than an average R-rated flick.
It was incredible.
And it's the beautiful cop that gets out of the car, and who knows what happens after that.
Yeah. Bo Derek was responsible for getting all of those channels removed from our TV when I was younger.
Oh.
I think it was the movie.
You got caught?
10. Yeah. My mom walked in. My brother and I were glued to the television. She's like, that's not good. Very young at the time. I was like, this is very interesting. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that I was interested in that.
Yeah, that was her big breakthrough, 10.
Yeah, 10.
Yeah.
At that moment in my life, I gave it 10, by the way. But yeah, my mom, after that, like HBO, all that stuff gone.
Yeah.
Like next day, my mom's like, this is not good.
Wow.
All right. Mariners and Braves.
Yeah.
Maybe not the result you were looking for, but that turned out to be a very close and good game and everything that you thought it would be in regards to pitching.
Yeah, it certainly was, Chad, but who would have thought double no-hitter into the seventh inning? I mean, you got to be kidding me. You never see that. I was trying to tell Nancy I've seen some no-hitters. I've never seen a double no-hitter, and I can't remember the last time there was one that went that long.
Well, how often do you turn away from a classic Laker-Nugget playoff game to check in to see how things are progressing in Seattle from a game in late April between the Braves and Mariners? That's how wild that moment was.
Well, I was watching the baseball game and checking in on the basketball because I knew there's no point in watching till about the last 5 minutes of the game because the Lakers are going to lead the whole game, and then Denver's going to come back and spank them at the end. And that's kind of what happened. But this game was unusual because the Braves didn't use their normal closer in that situation in the ninth inning. For those who didn't watch it, Atlanta had a 1-0 lead. Terrible offense by both teams, really. Not even many hard-hit balls. But then in the ninth inning, the Braves bring in a pseudo-closer who can't close games, and he gave up a 2-run homer, and the M's walked it off. Big win for Seattle.
Who was the clown they brought in?
Minter.
Yeah.
A.J. Minter.
You're a big fan of A.J. Minter, aren't you?
No, he's. I've never really. But some pitchers, Chad, you put them in the ninth in a closer situation, they can't do it.
Yeah.
In the eighth inning, he might strike out the side. Put him in the ninth. Throws a gopher ball to a guy that you would probably call a bum.
Yeah, a bum.
He's a bum.
He's a bum. A lot of those in sports, unfortunately. When we come back on the Rip City Drive, we'll dive into the Lakers and Nuggets. First thing I want to ask Dwight about is the defense on that final play. Can you do something to get it out of the hands of the one guy you don't want taking the shot?
Probably be a good idea.
And then we'll talk about the Lakers' future. LeBron, the Lakers, what do they need? Is Darvin Ham on the chopping block? We'll get to that next on the Rip City Drive. All right, Godfather, that basketball game last night was sensational, and I got to give the Lakers credit. They didn't win the series, and they get knocked out in 5, but I thought they played extremely well from start until finish. They just didn't have enough to compete with the Nuggets late in games. Denver's a better finishing team. They've got better players, and their starting 5 is legit, but I thought the Lakers were very game in this series, so I thought it was impressive. But last night, you've got a tie game. Nuggets have the basketball. And you know who's going to get the shot.
Yeah.
And you know what they're going to do. They're going to do the same thing they did in game 2. They're going to get Murray and Jokic in a pick-and-roll situation. Why not trap the ball and force it out of Murray's hands? I would rather Jokic take the final shot than Murray. Murray got to his spot, got the shot up, and make it go down. What's up with the defense there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, when you can tell, when Murray has the ball, if you're LeBron, with his credentials, his career, and everything else, I think you step up, taller than Murray, stronger than Murray. You step up and guard him, and you do it in a physical way because they're not calling any fouls on the Lakers all night long, and it's a physical game anyway. They're going to let you manhandle him before he gets the shot up. So I think that should have been done first. But after that, Rui Hachimura has a chance to come over and double him from the elbow and doesn't even move. It's like they made up their mind, we're not going to double him, we're just going to single up and not leave anyone else open. The problem is he was getting the shot clock down pretty far, and he had to shoot the ball when he did. There was no time for him to pass the ball off to anybody else, so that's automatic green light to double a player. You just have to make it tougher on him than that. Both those game-winning shots were basically uncontested. Now, I know the first one, AD came at him, but it was so late that the shot was gone, before he even got close to the ball. So both of those shots to win games were, I think, Jamal Murray considered them uncontested, I bet. And those are his shots. You could tell. The first one, definitely. Second one, that's a pretty easy shot. And they talked about the difficulty of going left and shooting right. Many shot doctors will tell you right-handers going left, easier shot, because as you go left, your arm is automatically connected to the hoop. You're automatically aimed in the right direction. You're right at the basket.
Yeah.
So it worked out great for him.
I thought it was great instinct by Murray to go left in that spot.
Right.
He was trying to throw off the defender, and it worked. He got the space necessary to get the shot up.
They might have thought he wanted to get the same shot he had before, and he went the other way.
Yeah, which is what good offense does. He got to a spot, got the shot up, and got it down. But I was just disappointed that in that spot, if you can find a way to force it out of his hands, anybody else on the team that you can get to take the shot, even if it's Jokic, I feel better in that moment at the end of a game than I do Jamal Murray because he's proven to be a big-time shot maker.
Yeah, just don't let him be the hero twice in a row.
No, you don't want that, Godfather. So that was impressive, man. The Nuggets get the win. But I'll say this about the Nuggets moving forward, and you've talked about this, but I do think it's spot on. Their kryptonite is their lack of depth.
Yeah.
Their bench is basically worthless. They have a 5-man rotation, their starting 5, which is terrific. If those guys are healthy, they're probably going to be okay. But if Murray experiences any type of setback or they have any type of drop-off to where the 5 guys are not right, they could have issues as soon as the next series against Minnesota because Minnesota's got multiple bodies that they can throw at them.
Yeah, and let's face it, Chad, we've seen already the playoffs are a battle of attrition. There is no question about it. You're going to get people hurt throughout. Yeah. It's just a matter of how badly hurt they are and how many games they're going to miss. We've seen almost every team go through this, and even Denver, Murray was questionable for this game with a calf strain.
All right, with the Lakers now, another offseason where they're exiting the playoffs. A lot of frustration because Laker fans feel entitled to championships.
Of course.
And I would feel that way, too, if I were a Laker fan. But there's only so many things they can do to the roster. Let's start with LeBron James. I know people are talking about retirement. They're talking about whether or not he'll re-sign with the Lakers. Will he go elsewhere? I think that's all nonsense. I think he's definitely going to stay in L.A., and he's going to continue to play. He's still playing at a high level. I think he still wants to play. Yeah. I don't think he's going to leave L.A. because he set himself up there in terms of business, life after basketball. I mean, you pointed out the fact that he's building a home. He's
a
got
compound. Yeah.
There's too much going on.
Yeah.
I don't buy that he's going to leave the Lakers.
No. He likes the drama. He got up the same way he did last year, if you'll remember, leaving a doubt. He got up from the podium, leaving a doubt. Is he going to retire? Is he going to come back? What's he going to do? And he has that option this year where he can go wherever he wants, pretty much. But he's never walked away from a lot of money. And, he could go somewhere else that's loaded and play for minimum.
Yeah.
He's never done that either. He's never wanted to take less money the way a Tom Brady would to be on a winner. He's always wanted to get his.
Yeah, and I don't have any problem with that.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, if you want to get yours and get paid, then you should. So Anthony Davis is coming off a big year. He was terrific all season long.
Yes.
He came into camp ready to go. He was in good shape. And the best part about Davis and his season was his availability. Almost an entire season. Well over 70 games.
Most of his career.
No one thought he could do that. He did it.
Yeah.
So they're good with AD. He's a big-time player and one of the best in the NBA. LeBron is still playing at a high level. I thought he was tremendous last night. I know he can't defend all 5 spots on the other end of the floor like he used to because, he's 40 years old. That's understandable. But what do they need on the roster to try and put themselves in a position to where they can contend?
Well, Chad, I think the old formula that you always wanted to do with LeBron is surround him with shooters. I think that's still the case. I think it helps to get more three-point shooting, but they also have a problem with perimeter defense. They break down on the perimeter all the time, and they allow a lot of penetration. And you even see, Murray, that's penetration where he gets that shot off. He's into the paint just pretty much with that game-winning shot. And they continually allow a lot of points against unless they're really playing somebody not so good or they're having one of their nights where they defend well, which is infrequent because LeBron seems to attract older players. He likes vets. He doesn't like rookies. He wants to play with veteran players. And when you do that, you tend to not be as good defensively. It's just fact.
Do you think they should move off D'Angelo Russell?
Well, yeah, I do, Chad. I think the inconsistency is what kills you with him. And I don't think he's quite connected to the big two enough for me. I think he wants to go off on his own. And those guys would have a problem with a player like that. They need a little better system on offense, too, to know what they're doing and probably play a little more pick and roll, LeBron and AD. Get a little more tight with what they do on offense.
They want a point guard. One of the names being thrown out there is Trae Young. And I agree they need a point guard. What do you think about the Trae Young possibilities and how he might fit in with what they're trying to do?
Well, he fits in with the front office because they always want to add that big-name superstar. Now, I don't believe Trae Young is a superstar anymore. I used to think that, but he has become such a liability on defense. He kills you. He gets stuck on screens. He doesn't hustle on defense. He doesn't rotate. And that's exactly what they don't need. They need a two-way guard. Even a guy like Drew Holiday, up in age, but able to play both ends of the court. Now, they can't get him, but a player like that who can play both ends of the court, that would really help. Make a three and guard somebody.
What about Chris Paul?
Well, he fits the demographic. He's old enough to play with those guys. Yeah, I think that's something that they'll probably consider. Yeah.
The problem with Chris Paul, when he's on the floor and playing, he's still an effective player. It's just health, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's in and out of the lineup with injury issues. So
yeah,
I think the Lakers are going to be good. I just don't think they're going to be able to find the move to help them get over the top. And the big issue with them now is that while LeBron is still a terrific player, he can't carry the same type of burden and load over an extended period of time like he was in the past.
His presence, Chad, doesn't mean as much as it used to. It did. I swear in the old days he could get the same amount of points, rebounds, and assists, and they'd win, no matter who he was playing with, because he was defending better. He was more of a presence on the floor. He was more of he had bigger gravity. Whenever he did something, he drew the double team. He got open shots for teammates. A lot of that's not as true anymore as it used to be. It's just flat out not true. And I kind of believe what a lot of people believe, and they're saying this about his impending free agency. If he really wants to win, he's probably got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
He probably does. I don't see them going from where they were this year to winning a title. That's a big step.
Yeah, I just don't think that's in the cards for them.
Yeah, it's 2 or 3 players away.
Yeah. So at this stage in his career, I don't think he's going to move. I think he'll stay there. So they'll work in the margins to try and find a way to improve the team. And they'll still be a factor in the Western Conference next year. But the problem is when you look up Minnesota, you still have Denver, Oklahoma City. You've got all these other teams who are young, who have multiple bodies that are going to continue to be a difficult force to work through in the Western Conference. And the other issue, too, is that over the course of 82 games, these younger teams with more bodies, they're going to win more games, have better playoff positioning, which means they get better matchups early on.
Yeah, there are. Those young teams, and everybody knows who you're talking about, they're on the way up.
Yeah.
They're not going to be worse next year. They're going to be better, really. And especially like OKC, Minnesota. Let's say they get to the conference finals against each other or almost there. They're going to learn a lot from that. And then next year, you don't want them in the playoffs. You don't want to face them.
And what's your take on Fat Derek Fisher, the head coach, Darvin Ham? Do you think that Fat D. Fish is a good coach? Are you not really sure? We don't know. What's your take on Darvin Ham?
It's a situation where I don't know how many more wins he was going to get with kind of, I thought, a mismatch of talent. And they went through long periods of time where some of those guys weren't producing at all.
Yeah.
Then they had a guy like Vanderbilt, who a lot of people thought was going to be a good young power forward. He was hurt basically all year, and I don't. My feeling is probably they could find a better coach, and if they can, they got to go get him because that window of theirs is going to close real quick. LeBron, 40 years old, is he going to be as good next year as this year? Well, he might. As long as the drugs keep coming in from Europe or whatever he's using, those substances, he might be as good next year. But at some point, he's not going to be. And same with AD. He got through a great season this year, most games he's ever played. Will he do that again next year? That might be asking a lot. I don't know.
Do you think they'll make a move at head coach? Do you think Darvin Ham will be the sacrificial lamb?
Yeah, I think Darv's on his way. He's on his way down the road.
Sorry, Darv.
Yeah, Darv's just about done.
I guess when you take that job with the team that they have constructed, you know that.
Oh, yeah.
And Rob Pelinka is not going to take the blame for anything that's went wrong,
No,
right?
he's not. No, Darv's done. Darv done. Yeah, for sure. I think for sure. It'll be announced in the next 2 or 3 days, probably.
The Darv is on his way out.
And the search will be on to get somebody better.
Who's a better coach, Darv or Missoula, Montana with Boston?
I'm afraid to tell you, Missoula, Montana is probably better.
You think so? Or does he just have the benefit of having better players?
Yeah, it's hard to tell because he's working with a full deck. He's got a great squad there. His second team is probably better than anybody the Lakers have on their bench.
How much is that injury to Porzingis? The latest report is he's going to miss several games.
That hurts.
Is that going to hurt them in the East against some of the tomato cans they're going to face in the postseason?
Well, I think they get Indiana in the next round.
Yeah, that's not going to affect them.
It won't affect them. No, they'll be able to handle them.
Indiana's like an open door. They're like they play the ole defense.
Exactly. Now, if the Celtics just run your stuff, don't go off and start all this one-on-one stuff. Just run your stuff. You're going to get layups against them.
Absolutely. In fact, what did Bill say when Boston was here? They never get tired of doing the right thing or playing the right way.
Yeah. That's what they do.
And you know how it is with a team that's poor defensively. A couple of ball reversals, and they break down.
They're going to carve them to pieces. I don't think they should have any trouble with the Pacers.
My miniature hot take, I think the Bucks are going to win Game 5 tonight and force a Game 6.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Middleton might go off, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I told you. The cupboard's not bare in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Brook Lopez and Middleton. Portis plays hard. He'll get you some rebounds. Connaughton will make the right play.
Yeah.
They have guys who can play there. And so they're not going to go down easy.
I hate saying this, but maybe if we get Boston and New York in an East final, that might be pretty good.
That might be, yeah. It'll be physical.
Oh.
And Tibbs will really scare him because he'll come out and push him around. They'll be very physical. They'll rough him up, and they'll play real hard on their two forwards who are the guys who carry them.
I respect that. Going into a series against New York right now, they may not win this series, but you're going to feel them throughout the course of the series.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
They just play with a certain attitude and physicality. Like Thibodeau is one of those guys where I respect him as a coach, I also think he's crazy and he runs his players into the ground, but I love the way that they play for him.
Would you want to play for him?
Yes.
Would you?
I think I would because he obviously has got something going on because the guys seem to like him. They play hard for him.
Well, get used. If you're playing for him, Chaz, you're going to have to go 44 minutes a night.
That's true.
Just so you're ready for that.
The problem is I suck on D's, so he would hate
Yeah,
me.
I don't think you. I think you'd be finding that seat down at the end.
What are you doing out there? You're supposed to fight through the pick. I would die on screen
You
after
call
screen after
yourself
screen.
doing? You haven't done anything all night.
That's
You're
right.
not
Hey,
doing.
Hey, Dong, get over here. Get on the bench.
You're not
Sit your
doing.
butt down. Oh, he would hate me.
You're sitting.
Yeah. I'm not the type of guy he likes. I'll put up the shots. I just won't defend for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you ever fought through a pick in your life, Dong? No, I haven't, but thanks. Dude, I know from playing basketball at my younger age, like the pick and roll, it's hard to defend.
Real hard, yeah. Yeah,
We used to carve guys up in 2-on-2 by running the pick and roll.
yeah.
It's like, what do I do? It's like once the screen hits, it's madness and chaos. It just continues because no one seems to know what to do.
We had all these. I coached grade school kids for years, even before my son was playing. And we'd have these great out of bounds plays under the basket where you just run one guy over and pick his guy. That guy comes off the pick, but the guy that sets the pick,
Yeah.
he turns around and the defender's behind him. You just throw him the ball, he shoots a layup. Worked every time. It worked 10 times a game.
I love watching Bird and Parrish. I watch a lot of old Celtic games on YouTube.
Yeah.
What Bird and Parrish would do sometimes, Parrish would come up and set the pick, and then he would slide to the basket.
Oh, he'd slip it.
And then Bird would hit him, and then Parrish would have a dunk or a lay-in or get fouled.
You know who was the Lakers? The reason they got Michael Thompson was he was so good at slipping that screen. And Magic loved the pick and roll, and he sets Michael up. He doesn't roll. He slips it in between both defenders, wide open.
It's
layup.
genius.
Yeah.
I love it. It's almost unstoppable.
Yeah. That was Michael's specialty. He was really good at it.
All right, we'll come back, and we'll deal more with the officiating. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel that we're getting a return to the 90s to a degree with some of the physicality out
Yeah,
there. They let him play last night in the Laker game.
Yes. There's a lot of marginal contact now, not being called fouls.
I thought for sure when they reviewed that AD block on Jokic, they would call it a foul because when he came through,
Yeah.
he doinked him in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. And he fouled him on the way, too. Had his arm around him and bumped him. And no.
The inconsistency continues to shine through with the officials. And then LeBron got called for a foul on Jokic, and they showed the replay. I'm like, where's the foul?
Yeah.
It's weird. But we'll talk about the physicality. We're getting a lot of that. Sixers and Knicks could get nasty tonight at
I would
Madison
bet
Square
that.
Garden.
Yeah.
Physical. All right, you got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. All right, Rip City Drive. Dwight and Chad with you. Let's go out to Miguel in McMinnville. Wants to talk playoffs. Miguel, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you once again. I just heard, I popped in when you guys started talking about, Fat Derek Fisher, and then the Boston and Indiana.
Yeah.
I think you guys are spot on with the Derek Fisher comparison there as far as body types and the bald head. I thought he was gone a long time ago. The players just don't respect him, and I've said it LeBron's whole career. I feel like he's always been a better player, and the only time I truly saw him respect the coach was in Miami, where he wasn't bigger than the team. I felt like that was the only time in his career that, there was a coach that had the control for him. And I can't stand the Lakers, so when I saw them get him, I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's going to be a mess. So, if he can go to an organization where the coach is bigger than him in the organization, obviously we know all the accolades he brings, but that's the only way something is truly going to function, in my opinion. Obviously he's great and he's going to do what he does every night, but that's the most lethal LeBron is when there's a coach bigger than him and that he respects. Like we saw his freak out the other night, about the call that he wanted to challenge, and I hear you there. And then to go off into the playoffs, I think you guys are spot on. I think it is going to be an ole type defense for Boston, kind of just to do what they will and at their leisure. Indiana's probably going to score a lot of points at home, and I think it's not going to be that way on the road. They might put a fight up 1 or 2 games, but I think it'll be a quick series, 4-1, and Boston just plays fundamental basketball. They aren't quite like I compare them to like a new age and take it with a grain of salt, but just in sense of fundamentals and doing the right things, they remind me of a new aged Spurs team. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Just as far as the fundamental side of things, they don't make many mistakes, and all their players, going down to the bench, they show up and they do their jobs. They all play their part and not trying to do too much and allowing the guys who are supposed to, do great things. And man, Minnesota, what a fun story to see. I think we've all been dying to see a player take over and have that old tenacity, like of back in the day, how they say they want that rough player and that killer mentality. And we have all of that in Anthony Edwards. And I think just if we're excited now, in 4 years it's going to be even better. And, I think the playoffs are off to a great start. And OKC and Minnesota, those two teams are going to be, man, no one expected OKC. I can't say no one. No one with a basketball brain expected OKC to be, even top 4 in the West. But that was brewing a long time ago from when Chris Paul went and they made that play and they made a playoff push with him there. And they weren't supposed to do absolutely anything. And I think that the Clippers messed up with that trade with SGA a long time ago. That kid's a baller.
Hey, Miguel, terrific phone call, my friend. That was awesome. A lot of great points there.
Yeah.
Indiana's fun to watch. I enjoy watching them play offense.
Yeah.
I just don't take them seriously as a title contender because they don't defend.
Their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
And they got a problem now, too, because Halliburton is not the same guy. He's obviously hurt. He's playing hurt.
Yeah.
And he's not being able to.
And he was terrific throughout the entire season.
Absolutely, Chad. He's not able to be that same player now. He made a great point, though, about the coaches for LeBron. LeBron has been able to run most of the teams he's been on, except for Miami.
That's correct. The only 2 coaches he's had that I think he truly respected, Tyronn Lue and Eric Spoelstra, of course.
Mm.
And Spoelstra, you and I know this, his process for when he knew he was going to get the big 3, when he went on that tour around the country to talk to different coaches from different sports who were elite in what they do, to ask them how they would coach and handle the big 3.
Yeah.
And he came up with the idea that they're the stars, they make all the money, I'll put the onus on them. They'll be the ones to drive it. And that was his approach with the big 3, which is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. They're not going to be able to get a Spoelstra, but like you said, there might be someone out there who's maybe a little bit better than Darvin Ham. The problem is the roster and the way it's constructed is incomplete. So no matter who you bring in, they're going to have the same type of issues.
Yeah, they have issues to deal with, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, By the way, that was kind of the Miguel show there for a while. He had
He was
a
on
lot
fire.
of stuff. Then he came with a full plate.
And he's right about Boston. They're just technically sound. They've
Yeah.
played good basketball all year long.
Mm-hmm.
And the advantage for them being in the position they're in is that you get Indiana in the next round. So they don't have to rush Porzingis back in the lineup because you're going to need all your guys for New York. If they end up facing the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, which is quite possible, you're going to need all your guys because that's going to be a physical series.
For sure.
I still like Boston to win, but New York they're dangerous enough because they play too hard.
Yeah, and they muck the game up. You know, you want to play that kind of clean, pretty game that Boston plays.
Yeah.
They're not going to let you do that. They're going to hit you on every pick. They're going to muck it up.
And the same rules that apply to the Lakers apply to the Knicks, in my mind, when it comes to the league office, meaning you can beat them and move on, but you have to make sure that you beat them by plenty because the refs are probably going to be on the Knicks side. That'd be my rough guess.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Although it's
the NBA's dying for the Knicks to be relevant.
Yeah, it's a little different though because the Celtics have always been one of the NBA's pet teams too. You know, they've always wanted because the Celtics they draw big numbers.
Yeah, the league doesn't go wrong. If you have, they obviously would prefer Oklahoma City gets knocked out, I would guess.
Yeah, probably.
But the Celtics or Knicks, you can't go wrong there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get Jokic up against the Celtics or Knicks, that's a win for the league.
And trust me, they don't care about Denver winning either.
No.
They're not looking for that.
No, they prefer the Lakers get in.
Yeah.
Would they prefer Denver over the Clippers?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the Clippers, based in L.A., they start picking up that even some Laker fans would be watching, even if they're hate watching, you know?
Oh, that would kill them. If the Clippers made it to the NBA Finals, Laker fans would die inside. That's kind of funny. With the Clippers, I do think that the Clippers, if they advance and get past Dallas, I think they can give Oklahoma City some trouble. That's probably going to be a difficult matchup for the Thunder, assuming Kawhi can play some part in the series.
Yeah.
And that's a big assumption.
That is. That's a big if.
I got to give credit to James Harden. That guy's balling out of his backside right now.
He is. Yeah. I just think that OKC is a little too young, a little too quick, a little too defensive oriented for the Clippers to be.
I mean, we know what Bakken told us yesterday, that he'll take matchups and versatility over playoff experience all day long.
Yeah.
I'm not so quick to make that leap because playoff basketball is different, and I'm anxious to see. We've been waiting all year long. How would Minnesota and Oklahoma City do come postseason time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, with Minnesota, we're going to find out because they're going to get Denver, and then Oklahoma City is going to get a tough matchup, whether it's Dallas or the Clippers in the next round.
That OKC series isn't going to start supposedly till next Tuesday. They're going to have forever off between the time that ended and the time the next one begins. So if they're gimpy, if they got some guys sore, plenty of time to rest and get ready and go through the scouting reports.
All right, when we come back, what'd you say the age difference was? 31 years? Is that the gap between Tyson and Paul?
Yeah, I think that's it.
We'll dive into the fight. Dwight's got some questions as we get ready for the event coming up on Netflix. And I've got a 4-pack of tickets for your Hillsboro Hops that we'll give away as well because it's a Hops Ticket Tuesday here on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Oh, yeah, it's now 4 o'clock. Bad news for the Boston Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis expected to miss several games with a right solar strain, whatever that is. Boston leads Miami 3-1 in their first-round series. We have a trio of games on tap tonight. Coming up in a couple of minutes on TNT, the Knicks look to close out the Sixers from Madison Square Garden. New York is favored by 4.5 at 5 on NBA TV. The Magic and Cavs from Cleveland, Game 5. That series knotted up at 2. The Cavs favored by 5.5 and 6:30. Second half of the TNT doubleheader. Pacers look to close out the Bucks. In Game 5 for Milwaukee, Indy favored by 3.5. From baseball, the Mariners and Braves going to lock it up again at T-Mobile Park tonight. First pitch coming up at 6:40. Lopez and Castillo on the bump. Got more of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. We're going to give away a 4-pack of tickets for the Hillsboro Hops. Your chance to sit in the Rip City Radio Row coming up next. All right, we have a 4-pack of tickets for you to sit in the Rip City Radio Row. Every Tuesday throughout the summer is Hops Ticket Tuesday. And this is for the game coming up on May 11th against Spokane from Hillsboro Baseball Park. First pitch that night, 6:35. So if you'd like a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops, call now, and Michael Shacker will set you up. Caller 3 right now, 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Brush Prairie! Tualatin!
Canby represent!
Sherwood! It is your show. You take it over. 503-248-0620. Man, I watched several more YouTube videos of Bryson DeChambeau, Rick Shields, and 2 more golfers I'm now in love with. I'm definitely in love with Paige Sporanic, but Tommy Fleetwood is a cool guy.
Yeah. He looks like the Wolfman.
Yeah. I love his hair. I love his style.
Beard.
And the best thing that I've learned by watching these pros on the course, and then I watched another one with Bryson. He challenged Bubba Watson, and so they're out there playing. Phenomenal. Watson around the greens is a sick freak, and his shot creativity with some of the different things he comes up with. Watching a lefty swing the club's always wild to me. But the cool thing that you realize when you watch these guys, one, their understanding of greens, how the grass works.
Oh, you start reading the grain and all that?
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. Who does that?
Well, Shields had about a 60-yard chip shot, leading up to the green.
Yeah.
And it was just off one of those little areas where you have the sprinkler. So, the ground goes down, and he chunked his shot. And Fleetwood was like, oh, yeah, the grass there is growing in a different pattern. You're going against the grain there. That's why you got to be careful with those shots. I would have never picked up on that, but he was quick to do it. The other guy that I saw was, who's the guy that wears the wild orange pants, and he went to Oklahoma State? Ricky Fowler.
Yeah.
That guy's super cool.
I like Ricky Fowler a lot. They say he's really a good guy, too.
So whether it was Fleetwood or it's Bryson or it's Bubba, these guys hit bad shots all the time. Shots that are off the mark, out of bounds. They will chunk shots. Like, they have shots throughout the round that, like you and I experienced, that are not what they want. And it's good to remember that happens to everyone. Where they are really good at, though, is recovering from a bad shot to get in a position to get up and down. Remarkable.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem to bother them when they make that mistake.
And that's
right?
the biggest thing I realized is that it helps me to study that, to understand the mindset that you're going to go out and play. You're going to hit a bad shot. It's going to happen. You're going to do it every single time you go out and play. You're going to hit more than one bad shot. The key is understanding that one bad shot is not representative of your swing, how you're playing that day. It's just one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it go and then move on and start preparing yourself on how you're going to attack the next shot. And that's the biggest thing I picked up on last night. And so that helps me to understand that they deal with the same nonsense, but their mindset, they don't let it bother them. They just move on to the next shot and go. And I like that. That mindset's good to see and to try and implement. So I love all that stuff. But Bryson DeChambeau, I thought he was a douche. Now I think he's one of the coolest guys ever. And his YouTube videos are great. And Rick Shields has got this challenge where he always challenges these pros. Can I beat so-and-so if I start at 10 under? And in the videos I've watched so far, the answer is no, he can't. Like, he'll be close. Like, he was all square with one guy after a round, but the pros are so good that if he has one bad hole, they just make up ground. They don't make mistakes. And if they do, they recover from it remarkably well. They might walk away with a bogey, but these guys don't have double bogeys. I mean, it's just like up and down. And they hit the ball sometimes on the green, but they might over too much draw. They might hook it in there. And if they're, most of us, we get on the green like, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But these guys are like, they're hitting to a spot.
Right. That's incredible the way they can target things. I don't know how you do that.
Oh my gosh. YouTube is a beautiful thing. And what I think is great with the golf, here's the great thing about YouTube, and I think Bryson gets this. These guys now have access with YouTube and different social media where if they do these videos and they allow people into their world and they do these different challenges and stuff like that, they get a chance to show a side of them that other people don't get to see.
Right.
You can bring in fans. Like, I went from thinking Bryson was a clown to now I'm going to pull for the guy because I think he's cool. And that's all because I got exposure of seeing him in different circumstances.
Sure.
Now, I like that. All right, the big fight. It's going to be on Netflix. If you're a subscriber, you get Paul and Tyson for free. That's genius. You pointed this out. I hadn't even thought about it, but the years, the gap between the two, 31 years.
Yeah. He's getting up close to 60, Chad. That's pretty old for a guy to be in a boxing ring. And it's pretty old for a boxing commission to sanction an actual fight. And apparently, somehow, Tyson has satisfied them that he can compete. Now, there'll be physicals probably 2 or 3 days before the fight. We'll see how that works out. But at that point, they're not going to cancel that fight because there's too much money at stake. When we get close to sort of weird exhibitions like this one, I've got a long memory. I remember getting all excited about Evel Knievel's Snake River Jump and what a big deal that was at the time. I paid to see the closed-circuit television of it, only to watch Evel just parachute out off the motorcycle about 40 yards into the canyon and not even come close to getting across. And just so many things like this that didn't quite work out the way they were supposed to. I remember Ali had the famous fight against, what's his name? The wrestler in Japan. It was the biggest waste of time ever. I think they carried that on Wide World Sports. And the wrestler just laid on the mat and tried to kick him and stuff. And Ali didn't know what to do. And it was supposed to be fixed, and it wasn't. So it just ended up being a stupid draw, and everybody hated it. So I would have concerns about betting on this because I would worry that they might have worked out what was going to happen. The age difference and everything. And, obviously Tyson's got a real break only having to go 2-minute rounds because 3-minute rounds would be a whole lot different. But he can probably last physically, but youth has an advantage. And it just depends on how good Paul is at playing defense. If he can keep from getting hit for 4 or 5 rounds, he's going to have an advantage at some point of this fight. So my concern would be, though, that they've already decided who's going to win this fight, or they've decided it's going to be a draw, and they're going to split the money. It's a huge payday, and maybe they went in thinking, well, I don't want to lose this fight, but maybe I can't win it either. Maybe it'd be better to just call it a draw.
From what I'm reading here, Tyson reportedly scheduled to make $20 million.
Good grief. And that's win or lose, right? See, the better thing would be the winner of the fight gets $20 million. The loser gets 10. This whole thing bothers me.
Okay.
This is the way it's being set up.
Well, I got to be honest with you. Your comments are bothering me right now.
Oh, good.
Do you remember our conversation about ignorance is bliss?
Yeah.
This is
You'd
one of
rather
those
not
times
know.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch because I love watching fights, and I'm just going to have to pretend in my mind that what you just said is not even remotely close to possible and that it's going to be a legitimate fight.
See, and I also think for the most part, if it's a real fight, it's not going to be an interesting fight for the first half of it at least, because Paul would be really stupid to mix it up with him.
Oh, yeah.
He's
He'll
obviously
get killed.
Yeah, he's still got a punch. Obviously, he would never lose that punching ability. He's still got that. So you don't want to let him hit you.
Here's what I want. I just want Tyson to go out and attempt to knock him out.
Yeah. But this kid probably can run from him. That'd be my guess. I don't know how quick Tyson's moving these days.
Don't stand toe-to-toe with him.
Well, obviously, and that's what he's going to have to do. But there'll be a certain point where Tyson's going to be chasing him, and he's going to leave himself wide open, and he'll pop in and hit him a couple of times.
But see, this is what makes boxing so great.
Yeah.
Even at this
You
stage
never
in his
know.
life.
Yeah.
All it takes is one connection from a Tyson uppercut, and bye-bye.
Well, look, I mean, George Foreman was fighting into his 50s, right? And still beating people up.
Because he could punch the heck out of you.
Yeah, because when he hit you, it was time to turn off the lights.
All right, let's go out to Portland. Brandon wants to talk about the Tyson fight. Brandon, welcome to the Rip City Drive. What's your take on Tyson and Paul?
Hey, what's up, Chad? I heard you guys just mention Tyson's looking to make $20 million on this fight. I just wanted to throw some numbers out there. I was looking on StubHub. One ticket for this fight is going for upwards of $20,000 for the primo seats, and I just want to throw that out there and let you guys know, like, it's amazing that he's still able to draw this kind of money for these fights at his age. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Hey, Brandon, do you plan on watching the fight?
Absolutely, I feel like you can't not watch it. It's timeless. You know? If he gets knocked out, it'll be great. If he knocks him out, it'll be great. I mean, I can't miss it.
See, Brandon nailed it, Godfather, where it's like, even if everything you said is true.
Right, you're still going to watch.
I have to watch because I have to see what plays out.
Yeah.
And he's
for
right.
Sure.
We're all, I think people are still fascinated by boxing, by the fight. It's the unknown. That's what drew me into boxing. Like, I remember the anxiety that I had before the first Tyson Holyfield fight. It's the unknown. You don't know. So many different things can happen in a short period of time. It's what makes boxing so wild when you get guys out there that can punch.
Yeah, even at this point where boxing's almost dead, I can't tell you over the last 10 years how much money I've spent on pay-per-views of boxing matches.
Because you love it.
Oh, Canelo, Triple G, all that stuff. Yeah, all of these recent heavyweight fights, I've watched almost all of them.
Well,
I love it.
Well, look at it this way. You love wrestling, like a lot of people do.
I do.
Even if what you said about the fight is true and they've kind of got a script.
They're working, yes.
Then just give us a good show.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Give us a good show.
I worry if it's real, it won't be a good show. You know, that's why wrestling is fixed, so they can give you a good show. If this isn't, you're going to see one guy running for his life, Chad. And it won't be pretty either.
No. And Tyson won't be the one running away from Paul.
No. But he'll be the guy trying to catch him, which may not be pretty. I don't know how well he's moving now. How heavy is he now, too? He's big now.
He's strong. He's a big boy. I saw him recently. He still looks like he's in pretty good shape. Meaning, if I'm his age and I'm still in his shape, I feel pretty good about myself. Yeah. I'll tell you what, nothing is better than him turning around and just going speed bag on that idiot's dome in the plane when that guy was harassing Tyson. And Tyson showed restraint and then was finally like, okay, if no one's going to pull you off me, I'm just going to turn around and give you a little piece of me. And then the best part was the judge threw out the case and he was free and clear.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. No, he put the guy to sleep.
Dude, it's like, do you not know who that is? That's Mike effing Tyson. You don't mess with him.
Yeah.
We've known that since we were young.
Yeah.
And what makes Tyson great is there's still an element of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what Nana said about crazy, Godfather? And no cure for it. No cure for crazy.
Mm-hmm. He's got that for life.
I love that, yes. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. You want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. When we come back, we will talk about Penix in Atlanta. Who was it that said that? Was it Justin Hopkins? Michael Penix. He called him Penix. I love that. So Penix is in Atlanta. We'll share thoughts on that. Also, Thunder against the Clippers or Dallas. Our thoughts on that. And the heavyweight showdown between Denver and Minnesota. That should be a pretty good basketball series.
Yes.
You got the Rip City Drive. It's one of those moments where I feel like if we just let Phil Collins play, it would be better than anything we have to say.
Giddy up. Absolutely.
I love this song. I really haven't heard anything Phil's done where I'm like,
yeah, I know. I agree.
I relate him to Tom Hanks. Like, Tom Hanks is one of those actors where, can you think of a Hanks movie that you saw where you're like,
no,
it was a horrific experience?
No, he's always in something good. Denzel's is pretty much the same way, I think.
Oh,
Denzel.
I love Denzel.
Yeah.
Hanks is the same way. Like, but even most great actors, they have at least one movie where like, I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Like Kevin Costner, who I'm a big fan of, Waterworld was awful.
Yeah, it was.
A disaster. But it's not too often you can look at a guy and say, well, they're all good. And that's Phil Collins. So many good songs. And unfortunately for you and I, our era is dying out.
Oh, gosh.
Dying out, Godfather.
Yeah, it's like I'd love to go see Phil Collins somewhere. My time is up on that.
Yeah, it's too bad. 503-248-0620.
That's why I got to get to Peter Frampton's last tour. And
Is he going to be here?
He's coming here at the end. I just worry that he's not going to make it that far. He's not in great condition. He's sitting down now at all his concerts. His whole band sits down to respect him. But and they say he's still playing the guitar great. He's not singing so well. I just love to hear him play the guitar. And
Did you see him over in Hawaii?
I've seen him twice, once in Maui and once here. Yeah.
He's like Joe Walsh. He uses the voice box.
Yes,
when he plays,
does.
Which is genius.
The blow tube, yes, sir.
Let's go out to Dave in Salem before we get to the NBA. He wants to talk about Tyson. Hey, Dave, appreciate the phone call. What's your take on Tyson, who's getting ready to take on Paul July 20th?
Oh, I think he's probably going to kill Paul. But one thing, I had a question for you and Godfather. I remember, and I'm old enough to remember when he was convicted of raping 18-year-old beauty contestant Desiree Washington.
Yeah.
And I think he served 6 years in prison. And this is something I never understood. Godfather, you probably have followed his career probably closer than most of us. Why do you think he got accepted back after such a heinous crime?
Well, that's a great question, and I've often wondered about that myself. I think part of it was his willingness to admit that he has made mistakes. He's owned what he's done, and that's not the only bad thing he's done. He was an abusive husband also in his marriage, but he has a certain charm about him, and he's come back and by all accounts led a pretty good life for the last couple of decades now. And that's the best I can do with it. He had so many fans that some of his fans also just stuck with him through all that. What do you think, Chad? That's the best I can do with that because it's a tough one to answer.
Yeah, he served his time, paid his debt. And the thing that impresses me about Tyson is that I just assumed when I was younger that by this time he'd be dead.
Yeah.
Because he had a crazy life. But he's reinvented himself. And if you listen to interviews now, he's changed. You know, he's changed. He's not the same guy that he was when he was 20, 21 years old.
Right.
It doesn't make the things that he's done in the past right, but he paid his debt, and now he's moving forward.
And I think, Chad, people do cut him some slack for he had a horrific upbringing.
Yes.
Really
he was surrounded by crazy people trying to take advantage of him. Yeah. Tough life.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about it.
Boxing saved him. I mean, he wouldn't have lived past 21.
I
if he
agree
hadn't
with
been
that.
A boxer.
Let's go out to Don in Wilsonville, who called yesterday, and apparently our show interrupted a transaction that he was in the middle of, but he wants to talk about LeBron's coaches. Don, welcome back to the show, my friend. I hope we're not interrupting business. What's your take on LeBron and the coaches he's had?
Well, I have to disagree kind of with one coach, but most of the coaches, he's had control. He's kind of been the guy that dictates the coach, and he's actually been the coach on the court. But I believe that, you said that Spoelstra, LeBron did hit him. He nudged him with his shoulder. He kind of pounded him a little bit, like he acted like he wasn't seeing Eric, and he hit him. And I remember that game. And people talked about it, and they were giving him the excuse for LeBron. But, with LeBron, he knows he's calculated in what he does. And so I do believe that, I don't know if you saw that one time during the game. He did that. But, I'm glad he's out. When he retires, I think basketball would be better without him, to tell you the truth.
Well, Don, I appreciate the phone call. I don't remember the nudge or bump into Eric Spoelstra. Do you recall that?
I recall something like that with a coach, and I didn't remember that it was Eric. But if it had been Eric, trust me, it wouldn't have intimidated him one bit.
No.
Not at all.
And, tempers do flare. Good players get into it with good coaches from time to time. And, look, it's not like LeBron's the only guy to dictate which coach he wants to play for in the NBA. There have been a lot of guys who have made a habit of that.
Yeah, I would say LeBron, through most of his career, was more general manager than coach. He spent a lot of his time setting up his own team. That was, he dictated a lot of front office moves.
There's no question. Let's go out to Lake Oswego, Michael. Michael, appreciate the phone call. You're up. What's your take on LeBron?
Well, I'm just wondering, all these years go by when we see these athletes. Oh, Lance Armstrong, isn't he so amazing? Look at what he's doing at his age. Roger Clemens at his age, look what he's doing at his age. And then they both get busted. This guy who called LeBron out said, oh, he uses my guy. And how stupid would a human being have to be for that not to be true? LeBron is a billionaire. You don't think he's going to bury that guy? Well, the guy kind of disappeared. And
are you talking about Chael Sonnen?
Yeah, you're talking about Chael Sonnen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's around.
And LeBron he looks like a 25-year-old guy. And I just feel like we're naive if we think that this is on the up and up. Maybe, but nobody's ever looked like this. The guy looks like he could play another 5 years.
Oh, I agree, but I do think most people are aware of that and have just accepted it. I think it's very much accepted now that he's using some substance to help him stay the shape he's in.
Well, none of this has been proven, so this is all just speculation on whether or not he uses.
Right. He makes a good point, though. If somebody says that about you and you're a billionaire and you could sue him right into bankruptcy, you would if it weren't true.
It depends on the individual. I don't know. I just know that he is tremendous at his age to be able to play at this level. I told you before the show that, look, I don't like LeBron, but even I have to admit that he had a phenomenal season. And he was great in this series. Big-time basketball. I marvel at his longevity. I don't know how he does it. I don't know what he's using. I don't know if he is using. I just know that his longevity is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Nobody at his age that's logged as many minutes as he has should be able to do what he does. But he's the guy. So, again, as I've told you before, I just assume that all of my favorite athletes are utilizing some type of performance-enhancing drug. I work off that assumption.
Yeah.
If Mark McGwire would do it, why wouldn't LeBron? If half my Denver Broncos did it, why wouldn't LeBron? I just assume that athletes do it. Why wouldn't you?
Well, in the NFL, it's common, isn't it? I mean, they don't even really punish him for it. They suspend you for like a week or two. That's about it.
I'm just saying that the pressure and the opportunity to make big money is so huge that I just don't know how they can resist the temptation. Yeah. I just work off the assumption that they all do it. So when I find out that they're doing it, it doesn't surprise me. And I got to be honest with you, if LeBron is using some type of PED to keep himself young and healthy, good. Because the longer that he's playing at this level, the better it is for the game. I told you before that my favorite time watching baseball, weirdly enough, was when Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were launching bombs.
Sure. I think a lot of people say that. I enjoyed it myself. If guys are willing to take that chance to entertain me, if they're willing to risk their lives to entertain me, I'm okay with it. I just would hope it wouldn't lead to young people using that stuff.
Yeah. Again, if one of these high-level athletes are using, they're doing it under the absolute care of a physician to make sure they're getting the proper dosage.
You assume that.
With the best stuff.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. But I don't know. Chael Sonnen said that in jest, but he said it with a certain conviction that was interesting to me.
Well, what he did is he incriminated himself also. He said he uses my drug guy. And I think when you incriminate yourself along with that, it carries a little more weight.
Let's go back out to the phones. Sean in Sandy wants to talk about the Lakers. Sean, welcome to the show. What's up?
Hey, Chad. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
You know what I haven't heard talk about is I haven't heard people talk about how D'Angelo Russell hasn't worked out for the Lakers. This has been a big disappointment. He scored 14 points last game. 2 games before that, he didn't score a single point. And this has just been what goes on in the NBA. And a lot of it has to do with health. Last man standing, and when you bring a guy in, you hope he works out. Like, look what goes on with Damian Lillard and what goes on in the Milwaukee Bucks. And have a good night, you guys.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I think D'Angelo Russell has shown what he is. At times he can be great, but he's an inconsistent basketball player like most pros.
Well, and what I was going to say, Chad, is what made you think you were going to get superior basketball from D'Angelo Russell? He's been what he is most of his career. Up and down, a bit of a problem sometimes when he doesn't perform. Can cause some rifts on your team. A little bit of a selfish guy, wants his shots. I didn't expect him to be any other way just because he showed up in L.A.
No, and that's most guys in the NBA. Most guys want their shots.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the biggest issues with the NBA.
Yeah.
Guys not understanding their role, guys not willing to embrace their role. Why has James Harden been such a smash success with the Clippers this year? Because he came in with the desire to win. To win.
And was willing to do whatever he had to do.
Yes, if that meant less shots, if that meant less points, I'm going to embrace the role and play the way that my team needs me to win. Now,
he changed his narrative, Chad.
He did.
At least with me.
He's been dynamite.
I think differently of him now than I did a couple of years ago.
Yes. And Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that he could adapt to a bench role, taking less shots and not being the guy with the ball in his hands. He has. And he's been good for them.
He's still crazy, though.
He's crazy.
He's crazy, yeah.
But he plays so hard.
I
and
know.
The fact that he's embraced the role, I have to give him credit. The other guy, aside from that, Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
No one thought that he could go and play with Luka and fit in with Dallas. No one thought that that pairing was going to be a good idea. Everyone thought Kyrie was crazy, and he's gone in, accepted the role, and he and Luka have found a way to mix together. So what I've learned from all of this is that these guys are so good, elite-level basketball players. If they choose to embrace the role that's best for their team, any of these guys can play together. That's what it comes down to.
If they're willing to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's why did it work for a couple of years with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green? Because they all chose to accept the role and run the offense the way that Steve Kerr designed, and that way everyone got a taste. Steph Curry got the bulk of it, and they were able to win. But even Steph Curry took on a different role when KD joined because he knew that KD would get the majority of shots.
Yeah. No, and they all do it. I mean, look at Jordan. People always talk about how many points you scored. Jordan could have averaged 45 points a game, but he knew that wasn't a winning formula. He tried that when Doug Collins was the coach. He had tried that. He could score all the points you needed, but they weren't winning. And until he learned to get his teammates involved, they weren't going to win. And he did that for Phil Jackson.
Yeah, he bought in.
Yeah.
That just goes to show you that all these guys can do it if they choose to buy in. And, I mean, Greg Popovich, as much as I can't stand his grumpy old ass, the one thing he always talks about is role acceptance is more important than anything else. And he's absolutely 100% correct. You can have the best talent roster-wise, but if the guys won't accept their roles, you don't have a chance. Like the Nuggets right now, I think it was Botkin, even Flex yesterday was talking about chemistry and continuity, right?
Yeah.
Look at Denver right now. Like Jokic is unselfish, and he doesn't care about the stats. He cares about getting his teammates involved and in a position to have success. Jamal Murray is team-oriented. He'll do whatever it takes. Aaron Gordon is the ultimate team guy who goes out there and busts his ass on the glass and plays defense to set his teammates up. Contavious Caldwell-Pope has been terrific in that department. They buy in.
Yeah.
And so, as a result, Malone can coach them hard. They all buy in and accept their role, and look at the way they're playing right now. It's impressive. And that's the type of basketball we want to watch. Boston's the same way. They are committed to playing the right way, and I give Jason Tatum credit because he's shaken some of the Kobe mentality they had early in his career, and he's bought in more to the team concept, meaning share the basketball, move bodies, get people open shots, and look how effective Boston is when they do that. They went over 60 games this year.
Yeah. No doubt.
And my guess is maybe with Harden, maybe he got to a point where he's like, dude, maybe someone got through to him. He's like, I've got over $300 million in the bank.
Yeah.
I've scored a ton of points. I've proven that I can be a great offensive player, one of the best ever. I want to win.
Yeah. Yeah. People really aren't going to respect him until he's done what he just did.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to win the ring to gain my respect. I can tell you that. Maybe in some people's mind, he's got to win the ring.
Yeah.
No. I've seen enough of him this year to respect a lot of what he's done.
And I love that. Heck, we can extend it to other sports. Look at Baker Mayfield. Changed his game, matured, and look at what he did in Tampa.
Yeah.
Led him to the playoffs.
Became
nearly
a
beat
team
Detroit.
leader. Yeah.
He was a team leader, cut down on the mistakes, and he's reinvented himself and earned himself a new contract. I like those kind of stories in sports.
Yeah, they're the best. But guys that are motivated more by winning than their own personal stuff, that's a big deal.
It is a huge deal. And James Harden, I'll tell you one thing. He's a great scorer, but he's a darn good point guard. That two-man game, when he gets in the pick-and-roll spots, he is deadly in that.
Yeah, and when he has to, that floater in the lane, more impressive to me than all those step-back threes he hit.
Yeah. I love the 1-5 pick-and-roll with Harden. He's been very effective. Yeah, he's been great, and no one thought that would work. I didn't think Kyrie and Luka would work, and I definitely didn't think Westbrook and Harden would work with Kyrie and Paul George.
Kyrie is one of the best players in the playoffs. He's been sensational.
Sensational. And he's so skilled.
Yeah.
I still can't get over that left-handed hook shot he hit over Jokic.
Well, the finish in the last game with three guys coming at him
Amazing.
at the hoop. I don't know how he even got the ball away, and it went in.
That's great. All right, when we come back, this could be potentially bad news for everyone. What is that? We'll tell you next. Well, that right there, Godfather, is the iconic theme from John Tesh, Round Ball Rock, which was the NBA on NBC theme up until 2002 when NBC lost the rights to NBA games. But now, with the NBA in negotiations, according to reports, NBC plans to put in a bid worth $2.5 billion on the rights to broadcast NBA games. And the good news is, according to John Tesh, Round Ball Rock would be available for the theme song.
Yeah, well, I don't care as much about that as I do about making Ernie and Shaq and Charles and Kenny available to NBC. Because if that show doesn't appear again, if TNT loses the NBA, I would be one upset human being.
Well, my guess would be, and the whole thought process is right now, is that if NBC gets the bid, Turner could be out, which would mean no games on TNT. The NBA, ever since I've been a fan, has been on either TBS or TNT for basically my entire basketball fan life. That's a long period of time. And inside the NBA is very clearly, arguably, the best sports show on television right now with Charles and Shaq and Kenny and Ernie Johnson. It's awesome. It's must-see television.
Absolutely.
The story the other night about Charles getting a friendship bracelet from a dude in the steam room is incredible.
Yes.
The guys couldn't believe it. And it's stuff like that that you get. I mean, I watch it all the time and I laugh. I love it when Charles goes out of his way to make Shaq laugh. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
So my guess would be NBC right away would see, okay, we got to bring those guys in and let them do their NBA show.
Yeah.
You would have to, right?
Well, you'd certainly try. Yeah. I don't know how much success they'd have in putting the gang back together again, but you'd certainly hope that they would.
Well, I can tell you have success doing that. Money.
Yeah, of course. But I hope NBC doesn't get it, to tell you the truth. It's fine on TNT. Just leave it there. Leave it alone. NBA, look, you got a great thing going with TNT. They've been your partner for years. They do a great job for you. Their play-by-play men are good. The studio show is, without question, the best sports show on television. Just this once, NBA. Don't run for the money. If the money's even halfway close, stay with the best place to do your games.
What do you think about some of the numbers that are being thrown out there?
They're too high. All these properties that are going out for bid for rights, they're overbidding. It's what's put ESPN behind the eight ball. That's the reason ESPN's not making any money anymore. It's paid so much for all these sports that they're doing, they can't make it pencil out. It's the same reason that all the regional sports networks are dead now. They paid too much. They're all doing that, and it's going to come back to haunt them, and it's going to come back to haunt the sports too, because they're going to end up having to put their games somewhere else.
Well, isn't part of the problem with ESPN, it's not just the rights fees, but you combine that with the cord cutting. And,
well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So it's the cord cutting that causes the issue. And then when you add in the rights fees that they're paying, that's the problem.
Yeah, but they're overvalued, I think, even before the cord cutting. And there was just, you get in these auctions and you want to have them because it's a prestige thing for your network. And before you know it, you're spending more than what you can sell.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Are you convinced that Commissioner Silver would take a lesser deal just to honor a long-standing situation with Turner?
No. I don't even think it's up to him. It's up to the Board of Governors, and they would vote on it. But they're going to just go for the money like they always do. What happens?
All right. Comcast, NBC Universal is planning to pay an average of about $2.5 billion a year to broadcast a package of National Basketball Association games, the Wall Street Journal reported on Monday, citing people familiar with the matter. Warner Brothers Discovery TNT has paid an average fee of $1.2 billion under its current deal, but was unable to reach a new pact with the NBA before an exclusive negotiating window expired last week, according to the report. Very interesting. The other part that's concerning is that you don't seem to care about Round Ball Rock by John Tesh.
Not particularly, no.
Why not?
It's just music.
What do you mean just music? You and I talk about music all the time.
I know, but just music for a TV show that's on for they play it for 10 seconds before it comes on.
Oh, my gosh. Don't get me started. I care.
I just want inside the NBA on there. That's what I care about.
Okay. TV themes matter. They matter because I grew up in an era where TV themes were the bomb.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and so did you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
No, you're not.
Because there's so much garbage out there as TV themes. There's nothing good out there
That's
anymore.
why we need to bring back the old ones that were good. You can't turn on an old episode of Rockford Files and say, I don't care about that theme song.
I love that theme song.
Yeah.
But it's because it was for the Rockford Files, a show I loved.
Yes, and you love the NBA, and they have a theme song that was voted #1 of all sports themes.
I don't think I love the NBA anymore, Chad. Sorry.
Gosh.
Do you?
Yes, I do love the NBA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I don't think I have that anymore.
I go, like I told you.
I like them. I watch them.
I go back and forth. You know,
Yeah.
right now my main love is college football.
Yeah.
If Bo Nix turns out to be the next John Elway, then my new love will be the NFL. And right now I'm loving golf. So I go back and forth between all these sports. I grow tired of certain things and I get into something else and then I go back and forth. Then I'll get tired of that and I want to go in and reemerge myself in another sport.
Sure.
You probably go through the same thing, I would imagine.
Yeah, you have to.
But baseball is still something you love.
Yeah, I love baseball.
Are there any theme songs from baseball that you love? Or you don't care?
I never liked John Fogerty, center field.
Oh, my gosh. Just give me more round ball rock. This discussion has gone south in a hurry. The Godfather is crapping on our parade here. You're the only person I know that doesn't care about NBA theme songs. This stuff matters to me.
I'm
yeah.
the only person you know.
Now, I've got a hot take. My favorite was the NBA on CBS because that's what I was first exposed to. And I love that theme song. But this one here from John Tesh is good. And I love John Tesh because he's cool and he's a great radio guy. And he married Connie Selica, so he's got to be cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe he married her. She is still spectacular.
How long have they been married?
A long time.
That's what I thought.
And Dwight trying to tell me he doesn't care about theme songs. I know he loves this
Oh,
one
this
here.
is a great one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hello, this is Jim Rockford.
It's so good. See if I can find.
Ha! I'll take this over that NBA song 100,000 times.
Yeah, please stop. All right, let's take a listen to this. NBA on CBS.
Do you like this one better?
I like this one better.
I do too. The other one's just too poppy.
All right. Dwight doesn't like NBA theme songs. Which one's your favorite, Shacker? This one or John Tesh?
I'm a John Tesh homer.
Yeah, I'm a Connie Selica homer.
But I watch a lot of Entertainment Tonight, so I like anything John Tesh.
Oh, by the way, Tesh does get a royalty for every time the song's played. And according to...
Yeah, I'm sure he'd like him to use it.
According to The Ringer, the song from Tesh, Round Ball Rock, aired 12,000 times during the era up to 2002 on the NBA on NBC. So I'm sure Tesh would be more than open to bringing the song back.
How much do you think he gets?
I don't know. Enough to keep Connie Selica around. That's
Yeah.
good enough for me. All right, you got the Rip City Drive. All right, now 5 o'clock chat here, checking the NBA playoff scoreboard right now. Game 5, Sixers and Knicks from Madison Square Garden. This game on TNT. The Knicks have a 37-31 lead with 5:38 to play in the first half. Games coming up later on tonight. How about the Magic and Cavs? Game 5 in Cleveland. That series is tied at 2. Cleveland favored by 5.5. And the second half of the TNT doubleheader, the Pacers look to close out the Bucks. Game 5 from Milwaukee. Indy is favored by 3.5. The Mariners and Braves from T-Mobile Park. That first pitch going to be at 6:40 tonight. It's Lopez against Castillo. We got more of the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad coming at you right now.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's time for the big story of the day on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad.
I don't know. I haven't given much thought lately. Obviously, I thought about it in the past, but at the end of the day, the kid has to do what he wants to do, and I don't even want to say kid no more. The young man will decide what he wants to do and how he wants his career to go. So
the big story of the day is powered by Powered Kia. The largest selection of Kias in Oregon is at poweredkia.com.
We're going to. All right, I stand corrected. The Godfather has just given me a theme song that he likes, Talking Baseball with Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
Yep. That's the 3 center fielders in New York all at the same time. Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Duke Snyder all playing center field in New York. Pretty cool.
This video I'm watching right now is pretty cool, too. It's got a lot
Pictures?
of classic baseball pictures.
Yeah.
All right. I feel better about you now. I was getting frustrated with your lack of love for Round Ball Rock.
I couldn't remember if the thing was called Talking Baseball or just Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
All right. I just did a Google image of Connie Selica. That's still...
That'll get you through the rest of the show.
Things are still going pretty well right there. Good for her. All right. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. You know, we talked about the Lakers bowing out to the Nuggets last night in 5 games. Tremendous series. And that game last night was awesome. I need more basketball games like that in my life. Here's the question I have for you about the Lakers moving forward. Would you draft Bronny? If that meant that you got to keep LeBron, if he wanted Bronny, would you draft him in a year where the draft is not considered, shall we say, spectacular?
I think they will. I don't know that. I guess I probably will because he's going to hold them ransom on that thing. I don't think it's going to get out publicly, but he's going to go and say, look, I want you to draft Bronny. And they're not, if he says that to them, they're not going to have any choice.
I would do it just simply from the fact that you're sacrificing one pick in a bad draft to guarantee that LeBron will re-up and finish out his career with the Lakers. He means so much more to them in the pocketbook. Having him on the floor and having a reason for Laker fans to show up, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And you can make a big-time boat of cash off of that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because in that town, unlike any other town, you need to have a reason for people to show up. There's too many other things going on. If you don't have a team or a big-time superstar, people got better things to do with the weather being the way it is down there.
Yeah, I would say the sidebar story to this, and Sean Hyken brought it up on X today, is has anybody asked Ronnie what he wants? Do you think he wants to go to a team with his dad on it when he might want to be hanging out with guys his age and learning his own NBA experience?
Well, that's the question I had when you and I talked about this last year. What does
Yeah.
Bronny want?
Yeah.
Does he really want to play with his dad? Now, my guess would be, if I had to guess, he probably doesn't.
Yeah.
Because how can you form, for a few different reasons, this would be my guess, and he would never admit this publicly, I would think, but when you're already under a massive shadow of your father, who's one of the greatest basketball players of all time and known globally, kids at some point just want to have some type of identity of their own. So if he's going to play basketball, he doesn't want to be known as LeBron's son. He wants to be known as Bronny, to go out and become whatever basketball player he can become. And if he goes to the Lakers before he's ready to become an NBA player and they draft him just because LeBron wants him, how are anyone else in the league going to respect that?
I agree. And that's a critical thing, Chad, because since LeBron has said that, even if the Lakers don't take him, pick a team. Let's say OKC picks him, all right? Was that because they think now LeBron will become a free agent? They can sign him? Well, you think he wants to wear that's how come he was drafted into the NBA, became a pro, because people wanted to sign his dad.
Yeah.
I just don't think that works for a kid.
Now, if Bronny truly wants to play with his dad, truly, if he really wants to play with him in the NBA because he wants that experience, he and his dad are close and they want to be able to do that together, then that's a different story. But I have not heard anyone ask him that question. And I hope someone does. And I would. If I had a chance to interview Bronny, I'd be like, hey, do you want to play with your dad?
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, people would bash the question, like, how could you ask such a thing? But I think it's a legitimate question. Everyone's worried about what LeBron wants. What about Bronny?
Yeah.
I mean, think about how hard it is for, Jack Elway, John's son, college football player, Arizona State, walked away from the game. I think Nick Montana, son of Joe, walked away from the game.
Yeah.
My guess would be because they're that guy's son. And it's hard to carry those type of expectations.
Can you imagine Bronny on the floor with his dad? I mean, is he going to just like toss him the ball like he would when he was 6 years old? Or how is that going to work? Is he going to pass only to him? Is he going to try to set him up? I mean, there's going to be so much made of whatever happens.
Or teammates on the same team. What if they don't pass it to Bronny?
Right. Or if they don't even defer to him.
Yeah. What if Bronny goes out there and plays like junk? How's LeBron going to handle that? Is he going to speak up for his son?
Or is he going to criticize his son right there in front of everybody?
Is he going to demand that his son get traded because they're not going to win a championship with him?
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. The reason why it's weird to me is that I always cringe anytime I see a dad try to get attention from their son.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that about LeBron is because I believe him to be someone that loves attention for a variety of different reasons. And I just hate the fact that he's putting his son through something that maybe his son doesn't want. Maybe his son doesn't want to bear that cross.
You're not exactly going out on a limb to say that LeBron loves attention.
No, I the best way I can describe LeBron is that I think he's the poster child for the me generation. Look at me.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what I've done. And I've never seen someone try so hard to convince everyone that he's the best of all time.
That's why people don't think he is, because he's trying so hard to convince people he is. And the greats don't have to do that. They don't have. Michael Jordan, after a hat, he's never said he's the greatest of all time because he doesn't have to.
Never once did he ever say it.
Yeah.
He didn't have to. It's like, yeah, he's the best.
If you have to say it, you're probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So, I don't know. It's weird to me. If Bronny really wants it, then go for it, man.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a weird situation. It's the same reason that no one respected Austin Rivers when he got that deal with the Clippers.
That's right.
Because his dad gave him the deal. It's weird. It's just a weird situation. I can only speak from my experience. My dad would never do anything to take the spotlight off of me.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want that. He's like, no, that's your thing. You go do it. I have to drag my dad along to be a part of something because he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to detract from that. I think most dads are like that. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Strange.
I feel for the kid. I do.
Because no one in the league's going to respect him. Man, you got the job because of your dad.
Well, I mean, it's hard enough as it is. Nobody'd even be talking about him if he wasn't LeBron's son. There would be no attention on him whatsoever.
No. What if he wants to just continue his college career and continue to work on his game and develop before he makes that jump to the league?
Well, he might. He's in the transfer portal. He could still decide to do that.
And that's true. But if he knows the Lakers are going to draft him, I mean, I guess if he wants to, like if the Lakers are going to take him first round, you got to do that, right?
Boy, that would be a waste of a first-round pick, in my opinion. I mean, he might play in the league. I don't think he's a first-round pick.
But not if you know, if that's my whole point about it not being a waste is that if you know you need to do that,
then you'll do it.
Yeah, it's not a waste. If LeBron says you draft him or I'm out, then it's not a waste because you're spending a draft pick on a crappy draft to secure LeBron and roll in the dough for another few years in LA.
Yeah.
So under those circumstances, I don't think it's a waste. The thing is, if they don't take him in the first round, how do they know for sure some other team's not going to jump in and take him? Because it would be fun for another team to F with the Lakers and take Bronny and then just give LeBron the middle finger.
It's not like Little League where they have that clause in the rules that, dads can always have their son on their team and you can pick the brother and all that stuff. So
I would do it just to, if I were a GM, we're taking Bronny. When we get the spot ahead of the Lakers, we're taking Bronny, and we're going to do it just to screw with them. That'd be fun.
It would be. Because then you could hold them up in some kind of trade.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I would milk the Lakers for everything they got.
Yeah, we'll give you Bronny, but we want AD in return. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he's available. You want Bronny?
We think Bronny can play the point. Give us Austin Reeves. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. AD and Austin Reeves, and we'll give you Bronny.
Mm-hmm.
And then LeBron can play with his son. You guys will be happy.
Yeah. Everything will be cool.
I would do it just for fun. And then LeBron would be upset about it. The part that drove me crazy about LeBron was one moment he's talking about his son can be better than half the guys in the NBA.
Oh, man.
And then the next minute he's like, hey, can we just not let the kids play and be kids? Right. It's like, please shut up.
Yeah. Just let the boy be a college student. Leave him alone.
And the funny thing is, Bronny's probably much cooler than his dad, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
He doesn't pretend to read books he hasn't read, all the other nonsense that comes with Bron.
He's the coolest guy driving the most expensive car in the lot.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. I don't know. Weird. It's weird. It's weird situation. Now, would I watch that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would definitely want to check that out to see how that plays out.
Yeah. He'd even, I mean, would there be demands made on, hey, my kid's got to play?
Maybe Bronny has a dream to be in-season tournament champions with his dad.
Oh, yeah, what a sweet moment. Sharing the champagne.
You definitely have to give them rings if they do it again this year. Come on, Silver. Get the rings out for the in-season tournament champs. LeBron holding Bronny after they celebrate an in-season tournament victory with champagne.
Yeah, the Lakers being bounced in the first round really gives that in-season tournament some heavy weight, doesn't it?
Would LeBron quit on Bronny like he has other teammates?
No.
Okay.
It would be a package. Yeah, package deal.
All right, Bronny, we got to quit on our teammates now. We got to get a couple guys fired.
We're going to Cleveland.
Wild. All right, when we come back, we got to talk about the TV situation with your Portland Trailblazers. There could be changes coming. What does that mean for you, the fans? We'll talk about it next here on the Rip City Drive.
You like Speedwagon? What kind of man doesn't?
All right, Godfather, let's talk some Trailblazer television. I've been hearing rumors now for the last several weeks that changes could be coming real soon to the way people view the Portland Trailblazers on television, and that could provide some other options for people out there that like to stream. So I think this is potentially going to be good news for Trailblazer fans out there. And I think the NBA, and this is something that Commissioner Silver, I believe, is pushing for, more teams taking the model that we've seen in Utah and Phoenix now with this direct over-the-air broadcast where all you need is a digital receiver and you can tune in and watch your games for free. It's worked down in Phoenix where they have a partnership with a local television group down there, and they utilize all of their stations to air both the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury, the NBA and WNBA games. And then obviously they provide a streaming option for those who aren't going to use a digital receiver, who want to have access to games on their laptop, their personal device, or whatever. A lot of people have moved to streaming only. Even my dad has, and cut the cord. I do have a digital receiver for the television in my room because, as you know, I like to access some of the old channels with the old TV shows. I enjoy that. So the Trailblazers right now are in this deal with Root, and that's created a lot of frustration for Trailblazer fans.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this at the beginning of the year when the Blazers were caught off guard with Root Sports moving the Trailblazers, getting moved to Root Sports Plus, which increased the cost for people to view Trailblazer games.
Yes.
And that was a decision that was out of their hands. It was done by Comcast or Xfinity, and that's where we're at. It's left a lot of Trailblazer fans who are frustrated and unhappy. And so I guess we'll start with this, Godfather. When it comes to the NBA and this move or potential move or pushing from the commissioner to move teams to a direct over-the-air broadcast option where people can access the games for free, what are your general thoughts on this with the regional sports networks now starting to fade away into bankruptcy?
Yeah, Chad, it's a complicated situation because I think teams have it a lot tougher now because the regional sports networks are going away. It's a trend. It's happening all over the country, and the one I used to work for went away, a couple of years ago now. So it's happening, and it wouldn't be surprising if Root went away at some point. They're not doing well, so that's probably good news for basketball fans because teams around sports are not going to have much choice but to offer their games free on over-the-air television like they used to do in the old days. And that will be good. It's just going to be an interesting situation because they're not going to get the revenue they used to get from the regional sports networks. They'll get something from a local station that's going to carry them, but I doubt those local stations can pay the kind of thing that sports networks did.
What was the rough number that NBC was paying to broadcast Trailblazer games?
Well, my understanding was always about $20 million a year. Now, they had to apparently not as much from Root, but I think still significantly more than they would get from any of the local stations here in Portland.
Yes, and these are guaranteed dollars that come in year by year based on the television contract. So it sounds to me like the NBA might be looking at this more of like a long game where it's like, okay, we're going to lose some off the top with these guaranteed dollars coming in from a TV deal. But on the flip side, we're opening up our games to everybody, meaning you give the games for free on television that people can access without cable, without satellite. All they need is a digital antenna. So you fill up all these other households across the state, across the region to where people can view your games. And hopefully, in the meantime, you grow fans during the process.
Well, that would be the idea, and that would be the hope. And I don't think they have much choice, and I think it would be viewed as a great public service if they did it, because a lot of fans are disgruntled at A, how hard it has been to get their games, and B, they didn't want to pay for them, basically. And, as an old timer, I always had a problem with that, because I always think nothing's for free, and why do you think you ought to get all these games for free when people are actually buying tickets to watch them? But it's the way it is now. And you turn on your television now or your iPad or whatever you watch, and you can see just about any game in any sport right now available to you. And it's a new world. So we have to adjust to that. But you have to remember, too, now, I think it's going to be a big expense. Let's say the Trailblazers do it. They're still probably going to retain the sales rights for the broadcast within the games.
Yes, because they have Blazer Broadcasting.
Right. And by doing so, they need that to pay for production costs of those games. Announcers now make pretty good money, as you well know. They do well. The play-by-play, the color man, they get pretty good contracts. It costs a lot. They send a lot of people on the road when they telecast games back to Portland. It's a simple fact. They got all kinds of technical people going there to bring you the best broadcast they can. So that's a big expense. And so they're trying to offset that. And I think the real thing behind it, as I thought about this, Chad, they think they're going to get a big boost in the national television contracts. And I think a lot of teams are figuring, look, we're going to get more money from that, and we'll use that to offset what we're losing from the regionals. That may work for them. That might turn out to be okay, as long as they do get more money from the national contracts, which apparently they're going to.
I would be anxious, too, to see what the numbers are for whether it be the Blazers or the Jazz or the Suns offering the streaming option, which certainly a lot of people, if it's easy and accessible, they'll pay for the streaming option so they can stream the games. I would like to see what the numbers are, how much the package would cost, and what are some of the dollar figures you could get in return. So if you combine that, the streaming option that people will pay for, plus the money you get from the local TV networks, and then obviously the advertising revenue you would get from having control of the games because you've got Blazer Broadcasting. I would like to see what that number combined is compared to the $20 million you were getting from NBC. How those numbers, what the difference is in figures there.
Well, and it's interesting, too. The Kraken have already made this move, and they've already signed a deal. Their games locally will be on KGW, some of them. Now, I think they'll also use their back channels, their digital channels, for the majority of their games. So you'll need that antenna to get them, but they'll still be for free. And I'm curious to find out how that works for them. And I don't think you're going to get a network station, a Fox station, a CBS station, an NBC station to dump primetime programming off the network to show a local sporting event. Now, you might, depending on the ratings that those shows are getting, but those are the games that are going to have to be moved. And I think, if you went somewhere where they had a separate channel, and you'll stream those, like if it happened to land, I would guess the Kraken subscribers could watch the streams on, like, Peacock, something like that.
Well, I know from my digital antenna in my room, NBC, CBS, Fox, like all of the local channels, they don't just have one channel. They have multiple channels underneath their umbrella.
6.1, 6.2, 6.3.
Yeah, so you've got all your different options where they can put the Trailblazer games out. And the great thing is about the digital receiver, the quality of picture is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the hiccups that you have sometimes with streaming. It's a clear picture.
And 4K, too, right?
Yes, and I think the Suns actually gave out digital receivers to fans at games so they'd be able to just plug it in at home, hook it up to the TV, and boom, you're good to go, which I think is pretty smart. I also think that right now for the Trailblazers that have been battling with a lot of unfortunate press over the last couple of years, this would be a major PR win if they're able to come out and say, hey, our games are going to be free, available on over-the-air broadcast. And then also we have a streaming option, which we don't have through Root. We have a streaming option for you now.
Yeah.
So everyone can access the games, and you've got the streaming option. That would be a win public relations-wise for the team. There's no question about it.
Yeah. Fans would have to they'd probably have to find something else to complain about.
Yeah. Yes. And fans always find different things to
Yes,
complain about.
we're
They're
here
good at
for
that.
you. Yeah.
And the other thing I was reading, too, that the lower bowl fans who buy tickets for a variety of reasons, that you're not competing against those people, right? The ones that you might lose some to because your games are going to be free on TV now would be the ones in the upper
Yeah,
bowl.
you think they would still buy the tickets because they're there they have the money. A lot of those are corporate seats.
Yes.
And they're kind of there to be seen. And,
Yes.
yeah.
They're not going anywhere.
Right.
Now, maybe someone who is on a budget, who is struggling to pay for the season tickets but likes to go to the games, if they know the games are free at home, then maybe you'll miss out on some of those people.
Mm-hmm.
But my hope would be, and this is what I believe to a degree, is that if you make the games available and easy to watch, my thought is the young kids out there who are flipping around the TVs, they have access to the games, they watch the games. You can grow younger fans who end up falling in love with some of the new players or young players on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually those people grow into people that consume your product.
Right.
Like for me, and I'm sure it was the same for you, when I was young, I got exposed to sports, professional sports early and college sports. It became a part of me, and then I was hooked. And so it's been a part of my life forever, as it has been for you.
Yeah.
Like I'm always going to consume sports on some level for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I wish I could say TV hooked me on it, but when I was a little guy, there wasn't much sports
No.
on TV.
I listened to the radio, and then I went to games.
Me too, Chad.
But here's what I can speak to. Like the Denver Broncos, for instance. They've had great success, and they've had like 9 straight years of horrendous football.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still supporting them. I still watch all their games. I still travel back to Denver to go to their games, and I still buy their gear
Mm-hmm.
because they hooked me when I was young. I'm in too deep. I can't walk away now. And I think that that's the advantage of making your games available to youngsters out there who will sit and watch games because they're intrigued by a particular player. Maybe it's Scoot or somebody else, and then before you know it, they're in. They're hooked on it. Of the people you've spoken with, like, well, I mean, I guess what would be the other option for Portland? Just to go back to Blazer Cable and to have their own package to where you charge per game?
That would, but that would create a lot more discontent among fans than anything they've done lately. It would be a real problem to do that again. They could create their own network like they tried, what was it called? Action Sports Network there for a while. They could try to create that again. But again, then you're dealing with the cable companies, the satellite companies, all that same old garbage that they had to deal with before. That's not going to work. So this is probably it. And I think they'll charge for the streaming service.
Yes.
And so there'll be some profit coming in from that.
See, I'm a little bit torn on this, Godfather, because I grew up after you did, but I still grew up in an era where I didn't have access to games.
Yeah.
I had to pay for the games I wanted to see.
Right.
When I moved out here in 87, the Trailblazer road games were on TV, but the Trailblazer home games were Blazer Cable.
Yes.
Which meant I had to beg Dad to spend $14.95 for a basketball game.
Right.
Which he deemed to be wildly inappropriate most of the time. But for the special games, like when the Lakers and Magic were in town, I'd beg. Can we please? And sometimes he would give in, or I would just have to head down to a buddy's house. The NFL ticket was not a thing until about 94, 95. So I didn't even have access to Bronco games. I had to take VHS tapes down to my buddy Jed's house, who had one of those giant satellite dishes in his backyard, and beg him to record Bronco games for me.
Yeah.
And I was in markets where home games got blacked out if they weren't sellouts.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through all of that. So I don't feel sorry for younger fans who don't have access to games because I grew up in a different time.
Yeah, I just find it humorous that people, because, look, I was watching games when the Blazers came to town originally.
Yeah.
And Harry Glickman was the guy that ran those teams. He wasn't an owner, but he ran those teams. His philosophy was you don't give away games for free. Or if you do that, people are not going to pay to get in. Why would they pay to get in if they can sit at home in the easy chair, watch them at home? So that was the thinking in those days. And they would do road games. They would do maybe 20 games a year, and that was it. That's all you got. And I recall that they used to make those available on Blazer Cable, and they made a lot of money off them, from what I understand.
Yeah. So what I'm wondering is, don't look at just Portland, but the NBA as a whole. like if we're looking at it through Adam Silver's eyes, if every NBA team offered their games over the air, like long term, how good would that be for the league if all those people had access to their games?
Well, it should be good. It should be. Whether it's good enough to make up for the money lost, they're going to look back someday and say, man, those days with the cable were great days, because that profit area is not going to be available to them. And I would say this too, Chad, those national games on the network, those are big money games when it comes to selling advertising. But those same games on local TV, you can't get that kind of money from local. I mean,
the local TV markets don't have that type of jig. Not in Portland.
How much is Fred Meyer going to buy from? They're great sponsors. They're great for the Blazers. But how much more can you charge them for those ads? You know what I mean? And all the sponsors they have, Les Schwab and Alaska Airlines. Alaska, maybe they can pay more. But a lot of these, they're probably getting about as much from them as they can, regardless of how many people are viewing the games.
Let's go out to Bob in Hillsborough. Bob, appreciate the phone call. What's on your mind?
Hey, Dwight and Chad, thanks for taking my call. What's the game plan, if there is a game plan, by Jody Allen? Why hasn't she sold the team to Phil Knight? I mean, what's she doing? Why hasn't she sold the team already?
Well, first of all, let me just say, we don't even know that Phil Knight is still a buyer. The price has gone way up since he made his offer. We don't know that. We do know there are other buyers out there. It's our understanding, we've always been told from the start, they were waiting for the national TV contracts to be signed, and then the team would be worth more money because of the revenue coming in from those new contracts. That's what they're waiting on, and that's what we've heard. So I guess we have to be patient until we learn about those contracts.
Even Adam Silver, whether it was last year or 2 years ago, I think even he indicated at a press conference that it was under his impression that at some point the Blazers would be sold.
Yeah, I think there are rules within the league about trusts owning teams, and that they will be sold at some point.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen eventually. We just don't know how long it's going to take.
So what do you think? Trailblazers over the air? I mean, look, if you want to improve ratings, what's the easiest way to do that in basketball? You win games, right?
That's the ultimate promotion, winning basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you win, people will tune in and your ratings will be off the charts.
In any sport. Yeah, in any sport. Even the Hillsborough Hops, we love the Hops. They draw better when the Hops are winning. And they're playing Class A baseball.
Well, I know just from the radio ratings, like when the Blazers made the Western Conference Finals run, our ratings for Blazer games were off the charts.
Yeah, they were on a rocket ship. Yeah.
Rocket ship, a monster number.
Yeah.
Winning solves a lot of issues, doesn't it?
It's a wonderful perfume. Covers a lot of bad aromas.
Gosh, I grew up in the wrong era. When I first saw NFL Ticket for the first time, my young Chad mind almost couldn't handle it. I couldn't believe it. Like, what? You can have access to every effing game? Are you kidding me?
Same with me. I was one of the first people that had DirecTV in this whole area. And when they started putting those packages on, the first year I bought baseball, football, basketball. I had all three.
I think this guy's name was John. I met him at the health club where I worked. He was crazy, like legit crazy, like a big Charger fan. And I thought he could be a serial killer, but he's like, I've got NFL Ticket. If you want to come over and watch, we can watch the Bronco game and then watch the Charger game.
You took that chance on him being a serial killer.
I was like, man, I was scared of the guy. And when I watched him during a Charger game, prancing back and forth, I was like, okay, he's legit crazy. But I couldn't say no to the idea of seeing the Broncos on TV.
Yeah.
I had to do it. It was worth the risk. I'm like, I can't pass up this opportunity to check out NFL Ticket for the first time.
That was an incredible innovation.
And then when my buddy Chris, when his dad would get Blazer Cable and we'd go over for a Laker game, it was just awesome.
You were living then, weren't you?
Oh, gosh. It's like Magic's in town and we got Blazer Cable. I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And now it's like everyone just expects that every game should be available to them on whatever channel they want for free.
Yeah.
I grew up in the wrong time, Godfather.
Yeah, I know.
Gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or being in a market where your team plays and the game's blacked out because no one They're not sold out at home.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Wild.
Amazing.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. All right, here's your daily Bo Nix update, who's now a Denver Bronco and part of the Bronco family, which I am starting to get more and more on board with. But
You're a part of that family, too.
I am. I'm a part of the Bronco family, whether I want to be or not. It's like I said, I'm in too deep. The people I've been communicating with in Denver think that Bo Nix has got a good chance to open up the season as the starter.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think this is how it's going to play out, Godfather. They're going to open up camp with Bo Nix and the rest of the bums. And if Bo Nix, they're not just going to give the job to Bo. That's the way it's been described to me, that he'll compete for the job, but if he wins the job, they'll start him from day one. And I like that process. Make him earn it. That way he'll get the respect of his teammates. And then if he shows through camp and preseason that he's the guy, then you start the process of development. And you understand going in, there's going to be some bumps and bruises or whatever. But the biggest thing that I keep hearing from the people I'm talking to, the biggest reason why Russ didn't work out with Sean, it's not because Russ is terrible.
Yeah.
It's because it's a bad fit. His style of play doesn't fit the offense and the way that Sean wants to run things.
Mm-hmm.
Fit's critical. You know this in sports. You've been watching
sure.
sports long enough. But the way Bo plays, getting the ball out quick, the processing, the ability to absorb layers and layers of information that a smart guy like Sean Payton throws at you with a deep playbook, it's a better fit. And so that's what I'm anxious to watch and see how it plays out. The fit of Bo with Sean Payton and the way he wants to call a game, and the fact that those two guys see the game in similar fashions, that could be a good marriage.
Yeah.
And we've seen that before in sports where sometimes you get a player that just doesn't click with a particular system or a coach, and then he goes elsewhere, and all of a sudden you're like, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
The guy's unbelievable, right?
Yeah, it does happen.
I mean, Steve Nash was a good player, but once he got mixed up with Mike D'Antoni, he became an MVP.
Yeah, it was magic then. Yeah.
So you had great player with the 7 seconds or less philosophy, and it worked out perfect.
Yeah, I need to ask you a question about this now. Going through the summer and the preseason, training camp, OTAs, and all this, how often can we look forward to a Bo Nix update? Are we going to get these
Every
regularly
day.
now?
I'll have a Bo Nix update every day. Because I'm going to be on top of this like
Duck
a hawk.
fans, here it comes.
And I'm going to be
All
on
right.
top of this like a hawk, and I'm excited to watch it play. And I've read all of the – here's the thing I hate about the draft. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I hate people giving grades on drafts before any of the players have taken the field.
It's absurd. You can't grade them out for years.
Like, for instance, we all assume that Terry Fontenot and the Falcons are dumb.
Yeah.
And it's quite possible.
Mm-hmm.
But if Cousins gets hurt right out of the gate and Penix comes in and starts throwing lasers, they're going to look like geniuses.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that the Broncos reached on Bo Nix at 12. But what if he comes out, starts from day one, and looks great?
Yeah.
Is that a reach to get your franchise quarterback at 12? Well, heck no.
No, not at all.
We all think that Caleb Williams was a no-brainer at number one for Chicago. I definitely believe that. What if he comes out and is just a complete tomato can?
Yeah.
Then it's going to look like a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to predict drafts. And a lot of times when you go back and look at a draft in retrospect, you're like, oh, that turned out to be a pretty darn good draft with how many guys are playing and starting, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know until it goes. And like I've told you before, like I don't know about Bo Nix. You know, I've got my questions on whether or not he can be a franchise-type QB. But I'm all in now. I'm all in on the process. I'm all in on the development. And Sean Payton tells me he's a great coach. I don't need to listen to what other people say about him. He'll tell you himself. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do now with Bo Nix. And the best part is no excuses. He can't whine and moan and complain because Russ wasn't his guy. He got to handpick the quarterback he wanted to work with.
Yeah.
So let's go out there and see what can happen. I also don't like it when people compare Bo Nix to Drew Brees. Hey, can we just slow down on the Hall of Fame comparisons? I don't like Caleb Williams being compared to Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is like one of the greatest players I've ever seen already. Can we just slow down on comparing him to Williams or Williams to him? That's insanity.
And please, no draft grades a week after the draft. That's silliness at its highest form.
I hate that.
Yeah.
What? You see, you gave them an F? How do you know? Like Dane Brugler, who was one of the best draft dudes around working for The Athletic, he did the post-draft rankings on the draft. The Broncos were 31 out of 32 teams.
Whoa, really?
Yes. The reason why that ranking is kooky is what if Bo Nix turns out to be the franchise guy? That's really what this draft comes down to for Denver. If Bo Nix turns out to be the franchise quarterback and no one else in the draft hits, it's a win, period.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to have to redo those rankings. The reason why they do the rankings and do all the mocks and stuff is because people consume it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I hate post-draft rankings so much that I read several of them yesterday. It's like crack for your mind. You got to read and see what people are saying.
I can tell you how many people in the newspaper business used to get so frustrated. Oh, my God, the editor wants me to do a draft grade. Oh, God, you have to do them after NBA drafts. Like, what, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Haven't even seen this guy play yet.
And Bo did show us some toughness. Remember that game a year before last when he played on one leg against Utah and went out there and was firing bullets?
Yeah.
Yeah, that showed me a lot right there. He nutted up in that one because he wasn't 100%. All right, that's going to do it for us. No thanks to any guests because we didn't have any guests. But big thanks to Michael Shacker. Thank you, Shack Daddy. And don't worry, you'll be able to hand out the high five you want to hand out soon. We just don't want to do any premature high fives here on the show, my friend. All right, Godfather, enjoy your evening. Enjoy the Braves and Mariners tonight.
Thank you, sir. I'll try.
What are you going to do for dinner? You going to the club tonight?
I might just go home, watch television, and make myself peanut butter and jelly.
And get a Diet Coke out of the chill zone.
Exactly.
All right, we'll catch you tomorrow. Rip City drives back at 3, and then Justin Myers, Rip City Mornings, will kick your day off at 6 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.